Will Incredibles 3 take another 14 years to make? It's been over a decade, but last weekend, The Incredibles returned to the big screen, and if the box office haul is any indication, all that waiting did nothing to dampen fans' excitement for the Parr family. In fact, the wait only seemed to get them more hyped. The super sequel Incredibles 2 lived up to its name and opened to a truly incredible $180 million. That more than doubled the opening weekend total of the original and broke a few big records along the way, including the record for biggest opening for an animated movie ever. But now that the wait is over for Incredibles 2, the big question on everyone's mind is, when the heck are we gonna get to see The Incredibles 3? Because seriously, it's gonna be kind of depressing if we have to wait another 14 years to hear that classic Michael Giacchino score again. Well, the good news is Pixar has never been sequel-averse. Just ask the 3 Cars movies that came out between Incredibles and Incredibles 2. And you know, with box office numbers like that, Disney is going to be foaming at the ears. Ugh, that's gross. For a full-on franchise. I also sounded just like Goofy. Unfortunately, there's one key component of The Incredibles 3 who doesn't seem all that eager to suit up for a second sequel. Writer-director Brad Bird. In fact, our own Amy Ratcliffe got to sit down with the man behind the Supers a few weeks ago, and he got particularly bristly when the question of another sequel came up.
People are too sequel crazy right now, and I think that people, if you make one film, if your first film is successful, people go, and you're gonna do a sequel right now? And you go, I actually have some other ideas I'd like to know. You're gonna do a sequel right now? Yeah. And then no, I don't want to do a sequel to that movie yet. So you're saying you want to do someone else's sequel? Would it be a Star Wars or a Planet of the Apes? Or perhaps blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no! Original films. But we also love sequels.
Now, of course, we applaud Bird's desire to create original stories, which we think means more Mission Impossible sequels and movies based on Disneyland attractions. But that doesn't mean we can really wait another decade and a half for another Incredibles. So there has to be a compromise, right? Like maybe just a decade before the next one. Thankfully, Bird has seemed to soften ever so slightly on the idea in more recent interviews. While talking with GameSpot, Bird seemed standoffish at first when asked about a sequel, telling them that it's kind of like asking a parent when they're going to have their next child. But then he admits there's still a lot of potential in the series, particularly with the character of Jack Jack, which he refers to as an unexploded bomb. We also learned via an Entertainment Weekly article that there were actually a lot of great ideas that Bird had to scrap during the production of The Incredibles 2. Originally, the film wasn't supposed to come out till next summer, but when Pixar flipped its release date with Toy Story 4, the plot had to be streamlined. According to Bird, the film's villain, the Screenslaver, was a late addition to the plot, and the original story had a much more intricate artificial intelligence storyline. But Bird clearly still seems excited by the potential for these forgotten fragments, and it's easy to see how some of them could easily become the foundation for a third film. Another thing that could ramp up the timeline on another sequel is the pressure Bird is getting from his cast, particularly Samuel L. Jackson, who has been talking a lot in recent weeks about wanting to see a prequel story revealing how Frozone got his icy powers. But of course, all of this talk came before last weekend, and now maybe the biggest incentive for a sequel will be striking while the iron is hot. The Incredibles 2 was expected to open big, but not nearly as big as it did, and maybe all that love will get Bird to get back to work sooner than expected. No matter how we get there, we hope to see Incredibles 3 sooner rather than 14 friggin' years from now. But what do you folks think? Do you think we'll ever see The Incredibles 3? Would you prefer they focus on Jack Jack or Frozone's origin? And how soon until Elastigirl becomes a Disney princess? Let's discuss. Be sure to like, subscribe, and mash that little bell to get notified every time we drop a video or go live with the show. And speaking of shows, have you had a chance to catch Nerdist After, where we break down the latest episode of Marvel's Cloak and Dagger? We meet with the cast and crew and dig out all of the Easter eggs that you may have missed. Check out new episodes every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific.